Ryan had always believed he knew his family. He believed in loyalty, in quiet sacrifices, in doing the right thing even when nobody noticed. But that belief shattered one cold, lonely night when his phone buzzed with a message from Uncle Mark. It wasn't a casual text or a joke. It was a video. A simple, short video, but it hit harder than anything Ryan had ever felt. The moment he pressed play, the warm sense of family he had carried for years disappeared like smoke in the wind. There, in the living room of the house he had been supporting financially for years, were his parents and older sister. They were laughing, joking, and most cruelly mocking him. The words cut through him like glass. Ryan, what a worthless burden. Can't wait until he finally leaves us alone. All that money, and for what? Every frame of the video showed the people he loved most treating him like he didn't exist. Like the sacrifices he had quietly made were nothing. Ryan had been paying their mortgage for years. Every month, without a single complaint, he sent money to keep the house standing, to ensure his family had a roof over their heads while he worked extra hours in his city apartment. He had done it out of love, out of a sense of responsibility, out of hope that one day they would see he cared. But now, that hope felt like a cruel joke. His hands shook as he scrolled back to watch the video again, hoping somehow the words weren't real. But they were. The laughter, the sneers, the casual cruelty was all there, perfectly clear. Perfectly heartbreaking. He felt his chest tighten, a weight pressing down on him that he hadn't known existed. He had been strong, reliable, dependable, the one everyone could count on. And yet, in his family's eyes, he was nothing more than a burden. The realization was staggering. For a moment, Ryan just sat on his couch, staring at the ceiling, the hum of his refrigerator the only sound in the room. Memories flooded back: birthdays when he bought gifts they never mentioned, late nights he spent wiring money so bills would be paid on time, sacrifices he'd made to let them live comfortably. And now all of it seemed meaningless. The video had come from Uncle Mark, a man Ryan had always trusted. The thought of betrayal from someone who was supposed to be a family ally made the pain sharper. Why would Mark send this? Was it meant as a cruel joke? Or had he simply thought Ryan should see the truth? The questions spun in his mind, each one heavier than the last. He wanted to reply, to demand answers, but no words seemed strong enough to match the betrayal he felt. Ryan had always carried a quiet hope in his heart, a belief that love and effort were recognized in some way. Even in his romantic life, he was careful, loyal, attentive. He had never chased drama, never raised his voice, never demanded attention. He had a longtime neighbor and friend, Emily, who had always been there quietly, sharing small smiles, kind gestures, and subtle moments that felt significant even when words weren't spoken. Ryan had admired her quietly, but he had never acted, believing his life was too full of responsibility, too burdened by expectations and obligations, to chase something as fragile as romance. Now, with his family's betrayal fresh in his mind, Ryan felt the loneliness like never before. His apartment, usually a place of comfort, felt cold and empty. Every picture on the wall, every shared memory seemed tainted. He wondered if all those years of effort had been wasted, if he had been blind to the reality of the people he had trusted most. The laughter in that video echoed in his head, replaying again and again, and he found himself trembling not out of fear, but out of a sense of disbelief, heartbreak, and anger he didn't know how to express. He thought about confronting them, about driving home immediately to demand answers, to look into their eyes and ask why. But part of him knew that confrontation could only lead to more hurt. His parents had always been proud, stubborn, and quick to dismiss anything they didn't want to acknowledge. And his sister, well, she had always followed their lead, echoing their opinions without thought. The thought of standing there trying to defend years of unseen sacrifice felt exhausting before he even started, as Ryan sat in silence. Another wave of emotion hit him: resentment. Not just for the video, but for himself. How had he let himself care so deeply for people who would speak about him in such cruel ways? How had he allowed love and loyalty to blind him to their true feelings? And yet, Beneath that anger was a soft, persistent ache for what he had lost. He missed the sense of belonging he had always associated with family. He missed the idea of home, of being appreciated, of being seen. The video had destroyed that illusion and in its place left a void filled with heartbreak. Emily's face came to his mind. Her gentle smile, the way she had always noticed small details about him, the way she had quietly supported him without judgment. For a moment, Ryan imagined what it would feel like to tell her everything, to release this weight onto someone who cared. Someone who would truly understand. The thought made his chest feel lighter, even as the sting of betrayal lingered. Could it be that while family had failed him, someone else had always been there quietly, waiting to fill the gap with understanding and care? He decided he needed to see her, to talk, to share the pain he could no longer carry alone. He texted her simply, "Can we meet? I need someone to talk to." Almost immediately, her reply came, "Of course. Meet me at our spot." That familiar phrase, the one they had used since childhood, brought a small measure of comfort. It reminded him that not all relationships were defined by betrayal. Some were built slowly, quietly, with patience and genuine care. Packing a bag, Ryan left his apartment, the city streets buzzing with life around him, oblivious to his heartbreak. The cold night air stung his cheeks as he walked, but it also woke him, reminded him that he was still here, still breathing, still capable of moving forward despite the pain. He replayed the video again, in his mind, not the laughter, but the realization that he deserved better. He had always believed in giving without expecting anything in return. But perhaps it was time to give himself the care he had always reserved for others. Emily was waiting at the park bench they had frequented since they were kids. She smiled gently when she saw him, a small beacon of warmth in the cold night. Ryan sat down beside her, letting out a long sigh. He told her everything: the video, the betrayal, the years of sacrifice, the loneliness that had been hidden behind work and responsibility. She listened quietly, her hand resting lightly on his arm, offering comfort without words, giving him space to speak his truth. "Ryan," she said finally, her voice calm but firm, "you are not worthless. You've given so much with your heart, and anyone who can't see that they aren't worth your worry." Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of truth, and Ryan felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Perhaps he had been blinded by his love for the family that had hurt him. But Emily's presence reminded him that love could exist elsewhere, in people who truly saw him, valued him, and respected his heart. For the first time in weeks, Ryan felt the tightness in his chest loosen. The pain was still there, raw and real, but now it had a path forward. He could choose to walk away, to rebuild, to heal, and to find love and appreciation in places he hadn't dared to look before. And though the video still haunted him, he realized that it no longer defined him. It was a painful memory, yes, but it did not dictate his worth or his future as he left the park that night. Ryan felt a strange mixture of sadness and relief. He had been betrayed, yes, but he had also been reminded of the kindness and love that existed in the world. And somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that while this chapter with his family might be painful and complicated, another chapter was beginning, one that could bring healing, connection, and perhaps even love he hadn't imagined possible. That night, as he walked back to his apartment under the quiet glow of streetlights, Ryan understood something he had never truly believed before. That heartbreak, as sharp and bitter as it could be, often pointed the way to a deeper understanding of self, of worth, and of the kind of love that was truly meant to be. And for Ryan, that journey had just begun. The video was still there on his phone, glowing in the dark, a reminder of the past. But this time, when he looked at it, he didn't feel powerless. He felt something: stronger awareness, self-respect, and the first real glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, life had something better waiting for him than the cruelty he had just witnessed. Ryan didn't know what to expect when he met Emily at their favorite park bench the following evening. His chest still carried the sting of betrayal from the video, the echo of his family's cruel words. He had felt powerless, humiliated, invisible, And yet here he was, walking under the streetlights towards someone who had always quietly understood him. The cold winter air stung his cheeks, but Emily's presence was warmth itself, a gentle promise that not all bonds were meant to break. She waved softly, her smile both comforting and reassuring. In that moment, Ryan realized he had been holding on to pain alone for far too long. "Ryan," Emily said, her voice soft but steady, "you don't have to carry this by yourself anymore." Her words struck him, simple but true. He had spent years sacrificing for people who didn't appreciate him, who mocked him behind his back, but Emily reminded him that not everyone would do that. She had always noticed the little things: his quiet generosity, his careful attention to others, the way he put everyone else first. And now, for the first time in weeks, Ryan felt someone truly see him. He sat down beside her, taking a deep breath. "I don't even know where to start," he admitted. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was helping. And then this." He held up his phone, the video still flashing from earlier, the evidence of betrayal glaring at him. All those years. "And this is how they see me." Emily reached over and placed her hand over his. "You are not what they said," she whispered. "All the love you've given, all the sacrifices, it matters. You matter. And anyone who can't see that isn't worth your energy." Her words, simple as they were, sank deep into Ryan's heart. It was as if a heavy weight lifted just slightly, leaving room for clarity and something new, a fragile, hopeful light he hadn't felt in months. They talked for hours. Ryan shared everything: the payments he had made for the mortgage, the quiet sacrifices, the way he had hidden his own struggles so his family could live comfortably. Emily listened, never interrupting, never judging, just holding space for him. Her presence was soothing, grounding, a reminder that not all relationships were defined by hurt and betrayal. For the first time in a long time, Ryan allowed himself to feel the full weight of his emotions. And for the first time, he didn't feel alone. As the night wore on, Ryan realized something important. He had been giving to people who didn't value him, but he had also been blind to the love that had been quietly present all along. Emily's support, her gentle care, and her unwavering presence reminded him that love could exist outside of family ties. Sometimes it was quieter, subtler, but no less real. And for the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a future where he was valued, truly seen, and appreciated for who he was. In the days that followed, Ryan began to reclaim parts of himself he had buried under years of obligation. He stopped sending money to a family that mocked him, redirecting his energy toward personal growth, experiences that brought him joy, and friendships that were mutual and meaningful. It was not an easy decision. There was guilt, a lingering hope that his family might change, but the clarity he felt when he was with Emily made the choice unmistakable. He was done sacrificing for people who didn't see his worth. Emily became a quiet anchor in this new chapter of his life. They spent evenings walking along the city streets, sharing stories and laughter, discovering new layers of connection that had always existed but never fully surfaced. Ryan found himself drawn to her in ways that went beyond friendship. He noticed the way she listened, the way her eyes sparkled when she smiled, the comfort of her presence during moments of vulnerability. And slowly, the trust he had lost in his family began to be restored, not by them, but by someone who had always been there quietly, patiently, and without judgment. Romance began to blossom, not in a rush or a blaze of passion, but tenderly, naturally. A slow and deliberate unfolding of hearts that had been hurt and were learning to heal. Ryan found that sharing his feelings, his fears, and his hopes with Emily was not just comforting, it was liberating. He could be himself fully, without fear of ridicule or rejection. And in return, Emily shared her own vulnerabilities, creating a bond built on understanding, mutual respect, and gentle affection. Even as he healed, Ryan knew the shadow of betrayal from his family would linger. The memory of that video, the cruel words, and the laughter that had haunted him for weeks would never fully disappear. But he learned that he could face it without letting it define him. He realized that self-worth wasn't determined by the opinions of those who failed to see it. It was determined by the love effort, and integrity he carried in his own heart. And for the first time, he believed it. One evening, as winter slowly began to thaw into spring, Ryan and Emily sat together on the park bench where it had all started. The air was cool, the sunset painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Ryan's phone buzzed unexpectedly. He glanced at it, expecting another message from Uncle Mark or a reminder of the family betrayal. Instead, it was from his sister, Ryan. "We need to talk." He stared at the screen for a long moment, feeling a mix of curiosity and resolve. The impulse to react impulsively was strong, to confront, demand explanations, or defend himself. But Ryan felt different, now stronger, clearer, more grounded. He didn't feel the same urgent need for approval that had haunted him for years. Instead, he felt empowered by the knowledge that his worth was inherent, not contingent on anyone else's recognition. Emily reached over and squeezed his hand gently. "Whatever you decide, Ryan, you have me. And you have yourself. That's what matters." Her words were steady, calming, a reminder that he was not alone in this next step. Ryan realized that while family ties could be complicated and even painful, he had the power to choose how they affected him. Forgiveness might come, or it might not, but it would not dictate his happiness over the next weeks. Ryan cautiously reconnected with his family, not out of obligation, but out of curiosity and the desire for closure. The conversations were tense at first, filled with awkward silences and unspoken regrets. But Ryan approached them from a place of calm strength rather than anger. He explained his perspective, the sacrifices he had made, and how the video had affected him. His family was defensive, at times dismissive, but Ryan remained steady. He didn't need their validation anymore. He only needed honesty and, if possible, understanding through it all. Emily was by his side, a constant source of support. Their bond deepened as they navigated the complexities of healing and reconciliation. Ryan discovered that love and trust could be rebuilt slowly, but only when grounded in mutual respect and understanding. And he realized that romance was not about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It was about consistency, empathy, and presence. Ryan's life began to feel full again, not because the pain had disappeared, but because he had learned to balance it with hope, love, and personal growth. He started pursuing projects he had set aside for years, exploring passions that had been neglected under the weight of family responsibility. With Emily encouraging him every step of the way, Ryan felt a sense of purpose that had been missing for far too long. He laughed more freely, slept more peacefully, engaged with the world with a renewed sense of confidence. One evening, Emily surprised him with a small picnic in the park where it all began. The city lights twinkled in the distance, and the air carried the gentle scent of blooming flowers. Ryan realized as he watched her smile that he had never felt this kind of peace before. Not alone, but here, with someone who truly saw him. It wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building a future worth living. The video, the betrayal, the years of unrecognized effort, they were still a part of his story, but no longer the central chapter. Instead, Ryan focused on the relationships that nurtured him, the love that had patiently waited, and the self-respect he had reclaimed. He understood that sometimes the people we expect to love us most fail, and that life often surprises us with love in unexpected places. As the sky darkened and the stars began to appear, Ryan held Emily's hand and smiled. "I don't know what the future holds," he admitted, "but I know I'm ready to face it with you." Emily leaned her head on his shoulder, and in that quiet moment, Ryan felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: safe, seen, and truly loved. The phone buzzed again. Another message from his sister appeared. "Can we meet?" Ryan looked at Emily, then at the screen. He didn't feel the old fear or desperation. Instead, he felt calm, confident in his worth, ready to handle whatever came next. Whatever choice he made, it would be on his terms, with his heart intact and with Emily by his side. For Ryan, heartbreak had led to clarity. Betrayal had led to self-respect. And the quiet, steady presence of Emily's love had shown him that even in the darkest moments, there was light. The past could not be changed, but the future was his to shape, filled with trust, hope, and the promise of a love that was patient, understanding, and unwavering. He put his phone away, breathed deeply, and let the moment wash over him. The world felt larger, kinder, and more promising than it had in years. And as the night settled around them, Ryan realized something profound. Sometimes, losing what you thought you needed most opens the door to the life you were truly meant to have.